Today on the Square Circle podcast, hosted by yours truly, Marie Shadows, we are going to be talking about discussing, breaking down, and I will be giving commentary on everything that I can find pertaining to the toxic relationship and the abuse that is alleged abuse within the former relationship between Masha Slamovich and Akira, or I like to affectionately call him Deathmatch Akira, so that way I could just distinguish any other Akira out there in the wrestling world. This is the Akira that we're talking about, Deathmatch Akira, that does a lot of hardcore stuff, deathmatch stuff, basically Cactus Jack, and who was once in MOW. I will be saying that I will not be taking sides, but when I give commentary, it might seem that I am for one person over the other. I do not know them personally, I will say that. I have met Masha once over here training at BWF a long, long time ago. It was just a quick interaction, nothing more, nothing less. And I got to help out with Akira in MOW to make sure that his merchandise table was in tip-top shape and nobody decided to steal anything while the show was happening, because it wasn't intermission yet for people to be selling at the merchandise table. And if somebody did want something, I would already have his price list in order to just make a purchase for him and make sure that he gets it. But nothing like that happened at MOW, but that was the extent of me interacting with him. Also, to add on, he looked at my Bullet Club shirt because I'm a fan of Kenta. Kenta is part of Bullet Club. I don't know about now, but I believe it was Akira versus Kenta at one point in MOW while I was there. And he made a joke about the shirt, and we talked for a couple minutes before he went with his crew and went into the car and went home at that MOW show. I think it was the same show. But he was nice. That was my experience. He was a nice guy and he cares about his fans. Everybody comes up to him during the meet and greets. So that's also a good thing too. So what's going to be happening is that I am going to be going through the notes and the screenshots that I have. We'll talk about it and we'll talk about relationship, and I'll give some relationship advice and some knowledge. And then you guys in the comments can leave your own advice and leave your own comments or whatever, and I'll read them and I'll respond to them. But before we get into it, I have some announcements to make. Ladies and gentlemen, I do have a Patreon. I will talk more about this Patreon in Discord Notes Volume 7. But right now, if you want to get on board for free, you can get a free account now on Patreon. Patreon has definitely changed up a lot since I decided to first use it so many years ago. And then now I'm reusing it again. So you can sign up for free if you do not want to get any of the tiers, which are $3 and $7. So Discord Notes Volume 7 is where I could talk about other topics that are not wrestling specific. And if you want to hear my thoughts on anything else, if you want to have a conversation with me about anything else, it will be over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows. We are currently up to Volume 7 of Discord Notes. Volume 1, 2, and 3 have to deal with Twitter and social media and YouTube and a content creator and getting paid and seeing people's true colors and seeing people just across the board just doing things for the sake of the algorithm so that way they could get all of the engagement and get all of the anger from people and stuff like that, and just be very, very negative. And I talk about all of that in Discord Notes Volume 5 and 6. I talk about Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk got assassinated on September 10th, and that really took me and everyone else around the world into a whirlwind. So Volume 5 is free to listen to. Volume 6 is free to listen to. If you guys don't know, I value freedom of speech. That is one of my values. And if you value freedom of speech, which is basically telling the truth, staying true to you, make sure that you have substantial evidence and or maybe stories to back up any of the claims. Do not try to peddle any kind of lies when the truth is already out there. I would personally, put speculation in that too, because sometimes when people speculate, it goes out of hand and it becomes a telephone game, and it just really becomes bad for any kind of fandom. Freedom of speech, you are allowed to say what you want to say, but just be mindful of not to spread lies, push an agenda that you know that is the opposite of what the truth is out there that people can just easily look up. Freedom of speech also protects us from not getting arrested if we say anything bad about the government or the president or anything like that. It allows us to gather together to have conversations and peaceful protesting. And that is what freedom of speech is. And that is a value of mine. I just don't like it when people use it for evil and for bad and to spread lies and an agenda, and then get upset when it gets proven false for whatever they want to spew. If that is something that you appreciate, I will be going forward for the amount of time that I continue and want to do podcasting for professional wrestling and other topics, and even in interviews, to stay true to that. Just follow the Square Circle Podcast on Spotify. Thank you for the 86 followers on Spotify. So search up Square Circle Podcast to continue hearing the truth in wrestling and just conversations like this. So thank you to the 86 followers. Thank you to everyone who has listened to the Square Circle Podcast around the world and on many, many different platforms such as Apple, Zencaster, YouTube, and much more, including Substack as well. But if you want all other conversations about culture, life, advice, anything that I feel like it's necessary to talk about, will be over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows. Over on the Patreon, tape study series will be living over there too, because YouTube just hits me with a bunch of things that I don't like. So to support me directly, head over to patreon.com/Marie Shadows for all the other stuff. Just know that the Square Circle Podcast, talking about professional wrestling, even talking about these kind of topics, will always be free. And if you feel like I am giving you enough value in these episodes, head over to buymeacoffee.com/Marie Shadows to send a one-time donation to let me know that you're listening and that you care about the brand and keeping freedom of speech alive and keeping truth alive and keeping conversations like this for free. Everything else takes a little bit more time and a little bit more effort, and I hope to see you in any of the chats on YouTube or Patreon or anything like that. So patreon.com/Marie Shadows has everything else. This conversation will continue to be free, and all other links will be down in the description below. Make sure to check that out. All right, let's get into some of these text messages. And the text messages will be available on marieshadows.substack.com. So this one text message, so anything that is in black, highlighted in black, is apparently Masha, and anything in blue is highlighted for Akira. So this is what one says. You can keep both dogs. They're in your name, right? Akira says, you hit me, you're wrong. To which Masha says, you cursed at me, that's why you got hit. Now, this is where I'm going to pause for a second, because if someone curses at you, that shouldn't trigger you to just hit the person. Someone cursed at you. What curse word was it? What did Akira say to make you want to hit him like that? Was it a playful one? Was it not a playful one? I just need context. Now, here is an example, because women would allow other women to call them a bitch, to call them a whore, to call them a slut. Women talking to other women will allow those words to be said, and nothing would happen. The other woman would not get slapped. So I would like to know, what did Akira curse at you? What word did he use to curse at you that made you think it was justified to go and hit him? If you're not going to do the same thing when other women come up to you and having a conversation, and they'll be like, bitch, no, you didn't. kind of reaction kind of thing going on. And if they don't get hit for it, why is Akira getting hit for it? Again, we don't know the curse word, but I'm just trying to put things into perspective of like, why are you going to hit him and don't hit any of the women that will call you a bitch right back in conversation, and don't tell me it's two different things. Wow, context and tone are key, but it's also like, yo, you got to keep that energy the same for both men and women. So after Masha says, you cursed at me, that's why you got hit, here comes Akira with, again, cool to see you claim intelligence and can't see metaphor. This is where I was like, what do you mean by metaphor? Because metaphor is comparing something to something else using the words like or as. So what metaphor are you using? I just want more context. Akira followed it up with, you hit me, you're wrong, which he is right. We're not there. We're just a fly on the wall, and we are just talking about these text messages. If you hit somebody, you're wrong, and two wrongs don't make a right. Later, Akira followed it up with, I'm sorry that I said anything. I just didn't want you to stress out further, and it didn't help. Nothing I say is going to cause you to change that, and I don't want to fight it. I'll just let you destroy whatever you have if you want. Good night. To which Masha responds with, great, maybe one day you'll learn to read the room, or at a minimum me. You guys been dating since 2021. In 5 years, you can understand each other, but sometimes maybe it's not that quick to realize it. That's my commentary. She continues to text, that was a time for you to shut up or say something nice and comforting. But no, you try to tell me what the fuck to do. It's my shit and my life. Okay, I'm going to pause right there for a second, because this is when I hate that women would say that you try to tell me what the fuck to do. I said it somewhere that men would try to be very logical with women, and that if a man thinks that a situation that is currently happening is going to harm you, the woman, and him, the man, of course he's going to tell you, hey, don't do that. That's not a good idea. We're both going to get hurt. So it's not trying to tell you what to do. They are looking out for you and themselves. But for some reason, women in this day and age is like, you always tell me what the fuck to do. Yeah, and you're still alive. You're still living. Because men will be like, hey, I don't think that's a smart idea. Hey, could you stop throwing that? Hey, could you stop treating me like this? But no, women want to be like, you can't tell me what to do. And then if some shit goes wrong and they get hurt, they're going to be like, why didn't you stop me? And they did. Men try to stop you, but every time they try to do, you're like, you throw all the buzzwords at them with the whole, but no, you try to tell me what the fuck to do. It's my shit and my life. And then she continues to text on with, you don't understand me. You have no idea who I am or how to help or conform me, which should be comfort me. But she says, conform me. I'm embarrassed to tag with you. So for context for this, they did a tag team match against somebody else. I didn't see the match. Maybe I should see the match. If you guys want me to, I could do a tape study on it. Let me know. I could give my thoughts on that. But I don't know what happened during this match for her to be acting this way and for her to be getting upset. I understand that as a content creator that we all, and even wrestlers too, we all create some type of beautiful art and we want it to be perfect. But I also said this too, that you should also fall in love with the journey and the process of the imperfect. Shit happens in wrestling. We know this. I know this. But you know, you could just look at it like, oh, we could just do better the next time. It wasn't that big of a deal. Whatever happened during this match. So that's the context. When she says, I'm embarrassed to tag with you because whatever happened during this match, she was upset about it. And we don't know what he said to her to make her further upset. But, you know, sometimes if a man is going to lead, listen to them. Now, what I want to know is that were there any witnesses to this particular moment in the locker room after this match, or was this just straight at home? I know on the text messages it says that the messages were read at 12:21 in the morning, so obviously it's the next day, but you never know. But then again, with the whole thing that you don't understand me, you have no idea who I am. Of course he knows who you are. You guys been dating since 2021. If he didn't know who you are, then like, you know, you guys wouldn't be having these conversations, and he wouldn't have to feel like he has to apologize for everything, and other people wouldn't have to come out on his behalf to be like, yeah, this should actually happen. They were arguing. Of course he knows who you are. It's just that you want to be so filled with anger rather than trying to calm down and think that the anger is going to solve anything, and it doesn't solve anything because your mind is so stuck on, he doesn't understand me. Why is he saying this? I could do whatever I want to do. And he's like, I'm here to help you. And, you know, sometimes communication is a very tough thing. And all you sometimes have to do is just be like, hey, I didn't appreciate that you said it this way because this is what bothers me. Let's go on to the next one where Masha says, it's very frustrating that when I'm already so clearly, and that is put into parentheses, worked up and overwhelmed and overstimulated all day and upset over a bad match and being inconsiderate, but whatever, who cares about that? See, this is where women need to work on their communications. I'm going to pause right here for a second. Why are you overwhelmed and why are you overstimulated all day? What did you do ahead of the day before the big match that you have to be this overstimulated and stuff? I understand because me being a female, being a girl, I do get overwhelmed and overstimulated, and sometimes I need to take a breather and just realize that it's going to be okay, whatever it is. But why are you overwhelmed and overstimulated? And then you get upset over a bad match. Understandable, but that still doesn't mean that Akira is being inconsiderate. So you want Akira to console you and comfort you and understand you, but at the same time you're upset if he tries or if he says something wrong that you don't like, but you never told him what you don't like to hear, and then he says it thinking that it's comforting words and you're getting upset at him. Do you see how confusing you're making Akira at this point? And how crazy women can be in general? In the long text message, Masha still says, you still managed to make it worse for me and make me lose it when I was trying to just keep it together till I go to sleep. You're supposed to be the one helping me, and all you do lately is make things worse, Alex, which is Akira's real name. I don't really like giving out real names, but it's within the text. Akira here says, I just didn't want you to destroy the glasses that you paid a lot of money and need in a day-to-day life. Anne is the real name of Masha. Again, I don't like using real names, but it's in the text messages. And again, Akira apologizes. And I want to pause right here and say that the glasses is a very small indirect misplacement of anger. The glasses is just a small thing. The glasses was not the reason why you guys fought. It really wasn't. That was just something so small. She needs something to throw around. She needs something to get the anger out. That's why turning to wrestling, turning to UFC, turning to boxing, turning to anything physical to help release that anger. That's what she was looking for. That's why you were so protected of the glasses. And the situation isn't about the glasses, though. It's just about anger management. It's just about other little things that decided to be bundled up all together. But the glasses was the object for all the anger to be taken out of. And that means verbal and physical abuse between the two. So after Akira apologizes, she follows it up with, I'm tired of this. This isn't what I signed up for. This isn't what we used to be. And it's not going to go back to how it was. And it's not going to get any better, only worse. I've been down this road before. And it's like you've been down the road because nobody decided to either challenge you to sit down and have a conversation and talk about these things. If these things keep reoccurring, it might be a you problem and not the guy problem. And that's not me trying to take sides for Akira or anything like that. That's just a psychological thing. If you have to say that you've been down this road before, then it might be a you problem and not a him problem. Because he tries in all the text messages that were revealed, he tries. And he's a very sweet guy. And he has a very giving heart, and he's always apologizing to say, I'm sorry. And that's a sign of being abused, or just a sign of like, hey, I love you so much. We should just stop fighting and it's all my fault. So that way the girl can feel like she won something, or the girl can feel like, oh, he finally gets it. But the abuse is still going to be there. The loop is still going to be there. And again, communication. Communication, that's all it is. By the way, I want to note that if I am reading all these text messages out of order, I'm sorry. This is just how I have it set up, and this is how we're going to go through it. And I'm still going to give commentary, but if I am reading it out of order, my apologies. The other text messages starts with, all you do is be sorry. You're never able to just do the right thing in the moment. Okay, I'm going to stop there. What is the right thing in the moment, Masha? What is it? You are filled with anger. Throughout all these text messages, it's anger and just doing shit, right? So like, what is the right moment? When is the right moment? These are questions to be asked if you ever go to therapy, or if you ever want to sit down with him and actually talk about it, even though you guys are exes, but you still need to know so that way both of you guys can grow as human beings, even if you're not going to be in a committed relationship going forward. So what is the right thing to do in the moment? Is he not giving you enough hugs? Because that's not nowhere in any of the text messages that I have read. There's no physical touching to calm you down when you're angry. Do you want him to give you hugs? Do you want him to just leave you alone in the room while you calm down in your own way? And then when you come out, you're like, babe, let's go get something to eat. By the way, I don't really use babe. That's a really weird word coming out of my mouth. But that's neither here nor there. But seriously, like, he apologizes to you because of your anger and what you do to him. So he apologizes to make sure that there's like a little shield because he's afraid of you. Akira says, I didn't know I signed up to watch someone destroy things out of anger again, but I'm still here, which is a testament to Akira's heart. That dude has a big ass fucking heart, man. Masha says, if it's not directed at you, what do you care? Because I care about you. That was the line that Akira gave to Masha. And again, men will do this, okay? Men will do this. Men will put aside how they feel, all the arguments, all of the bad things. And if they truly believe in their heart of hearts that they want to make a life with you, and they see a future with you, they will say this, because I care about you. They will be like, fuck my life, I care about you. And this is Akira's big ass fucking heart, because he really did care about Masha. And I believe that Masha cared about him too. And that when their first picture of them kissing came out, I was like, oh my God, that's a cute couple. Awesome. I was like, woohoo. You know, it was very nice. And then you see the true heart of a man when they say, because I care about you. But yet then in today's society, in today's world, all the women are brainwashed to think that men are bad, men are evil. You don't need no man. You could do everything on your own. No, we need men as much as men needs us. Okay? We need men, women need men, we need men no matter what. And we could work together in unison, because there's things that I can't do that a man can do, and there's things that a man can't do that I could do. Put them together, we work best as a team. So big props to Akira here with that line, because I care about you. Masha comes in with, I very clearly tried not to take it out on you, but you just had to keep pushing. And again, here comes Akira with the line, I don't care about me. Those two lines tell me that Akira tried everything in his power to make it work because he saw a future and he really, really wanted something more with Masha. Because guys who really want that will tell you this exactly, those two lines. Masha follows it up with, and then instead of backing off, you started provoking me. Please define the word provoking. Please provide examples to provoking. How did Akira provoke you if he's trying to tell you, hey, do not break those glasses? Please do not take the anger out on the glasses. If you're angry, don't break the glasses because you're going to have to pay for it. We don't have money. We're going to be wasting money. So how did he provoke you? Akira ends up texting, and if you broke those, you'd have been more upset later and had to spend more money. To which Masha says, and guess what? I still already threw them. So you're only proving his point. So how is he provoking you? If he's telling you that if you broke those glasses that you need on a day-to-day basis, or that he needs on a day-to-day basis, because I've seen Akira wear glasses, if you decided to break them, you're going to have to pay for new ones and you're wasting money. You're spending more money. You're not being very smart with your money because your anger is misplaced on the glasses because you want to take it out on something. But sometimes you take it out on Akira, sometimes you don't. And it's like you're breaking all the other stuff. And it's like, that's not a very good outlet. That's really not. Also, in the previous text messages, she says, you don't understand me. This text message that Akira says, and if you broke those, you'd have been more upset later and had to spend more money. And then what is the first thing that you do? And guess what? I still already threw them. So he does know you. He does understand you. But you want to paint it and gaslight him to think that he doesn't, when clearly he does. He pays attention to all the details. Men do that. Good men pay attention to the details that come about in their women. And sometimes women would think that men don't pay attention. Men do pay attention in their own little ways. So clearly he paid attention to Masha when Masha is like, you don't know me. You don't know anything about me and who I am. Yeah, he does. He really does. Side note, I did finally see the pictures that were posted of the abuse that Akira had on him, which was scratches and looked like a busted lip, and even scratches on his wrist. And it's very, very sad. Very sad, very unfortunate. He doesn't deserve that. Nobody does. Man, woman, whatever, don't deserve that kind of abuse at all. We got to get better at talking rather than the first thing that we do is throw fists, even though that seems like the perfect response and the most natural response is to probably attack somebody. But we do got to get better at like knowing when to do so, when to pick your battles, when to fight your battles, and when to use words to try to find a common ground. Even though sometimes the best thing that our nervous system would be like, yo, we got to get this anger and this feeling out by punching something. And that may work, but we got to find other ways. And I'm not saying to just be soft or turn the other cheek or, you know, whatever buzzword you want to use for that. I just think that there are different types of situations where it can call for to punch somebody and to have a fist fight. And then maybe you guys can learn from that, or you guys can just have a heated debate and maybe you can learn from that too. And I will say that two wrongs don't make a right, but also two different situations could be true and right at the same time. This is why human conversation and human connectivity with other people, with other ideas, beliefs, and foundations and systems in their mind and stuff like that It's very complex. So it's a case by case basis for this kind of stuff. So what I want to do now is head into some of the articles that have the other text messages to talk about them and break them down like I was doing earlier. On this one, this text message starts with, if me just saying there's healthier ways to process anger is provoking, then I'm sorry. Oh, right. I was asking about, hey, define provoke. Like, what do you mean about provoking? Here's this text message for that one. But again, if Akira is really saying there are healthier ways to process anger, I don't understand how that is provoking when he's giving healthier options and different kinds of ideas and really opening up to the idea of having a healthy dialogue. She goes on to text back, so why bother going at it? And here comes Akira. Akira is damn smart because it'll happen again and again until you do break them, meaning probably the glasses. And he's totally right. So he understands Masha and her anger and all the stuff that be happening. Masha follows it up with, what's provoking is you calling me a baby and all that other shit. And it's like everybody calls people a baby. Like, oh, stop being a baby. Stop crying. You don't need to cry. There was no point for crying. Stop being a baby. People do that all the time. We grew up in high schools where people were like, stop being a baby. Listen, I grew up in New York City. So like my New Yorker side is coming out to be like, yo, who gives a shit if they call you a baby? Like, brush it off. And what's all the other shit? I want to know what all the other shit is. Akira says, because you're screaming at me and throwing things that are mine and stomping your feet. Do I like saying that? No. Most men don't, but if you're going to present tantrums, well, then you're a baby. You got to grow up. You'll be okay. There are other healthier ways to get out that anger and not throw a tantrum. Masha says, after all, you started it in the car, Alex, aka Akira. If you didn't keep pushing me, I wouldn't scream at you. Akira texts back by calmly saying one thing. That's where the screenshot ends on this article here. So I don't know what the rest of it was. So in the article, I didn't know this was written because I don't have access to all the screenshots to really look at this and really go into a deeper dive. But this is something, man. This is what women do. And then when you call it out, women get upset at you. But according to this article, verbal and mental abuse is still abuse. Masha and Akira exhibit a cycle of abusive behaviors. The former knockout star has demeaned his success, told him to make more money to be with her, and told him he's not good at sex. Akira told a friend that he wanted to seek therapy, but Masha gets mad at him when he goes. Why are you trying to control everything that Akira is doing to try to make this relationship work because he truly wanted to be with her? As Exhibit A with him saying, because I care about you, and that he doesn't care about himself. Like I said, men will selflessly give themselves to you if they think that they have a future with you. But this is a Masha problem and not so much of an Akira problem. Both of them can grow up, but Akira here is taking the steps to be better because he thinks that he's not enough because Masha is telling him all of this stuff. And by the way, why the fuck you want to make him feel really, really bad that he's not good at sex? Obviously he was, because you were with him in the early stages, but then now you're having this fight. Women always want to throw that shit in men's faces in general to be like, you were never good at sex. You always had a small dick. You couldn't pleasure me. Women, can we focus on the root causes of these angers? And if you really don't want to be with somebody, just be like, yo, I think it's me. I need time away. You could go do what you want to go do. It's a me thing. Let's call it off. If you do that, the man in question in your relationship, the person that's there, will have a lot more respect for you. Will definitely be like, oh, we didn't work out. She decided to break it off, but we're good friends now. We talked it out. They will have a lot more respect for you if you decided to be like, hey, this isn't working out anymore because maybe I'm not seeing you enough and I'm getting other thoughts and I want to calm down. I want to go explore the world. I want to go do this. I want to go do that without having feminist agenda behind those reasons. The man will have a lot more respect for you. I don't understand why women want to be like, sex wasn't good. You know, you shouldn't be good at this thing, but you were loving it. You were moaning not too long ago. You were like, give me more and shit. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you were never good. Liar. So now we come to the text messages where it's demeaning. And this is where Masha says, I'm shocked because I thought I'd date someone with some status. / also believe you'll get there, but you're femme as fuck and I'm not gay. Okay, here it goes. Because even, you don't know how many times I read that. Even before doing this podcast episode, reading that and then reading it out loud, it makes me a little bit upset, right? And I'm only going to say a little bit because I'm a little, it bothers me because, you know, sometimes growing up, you have this idea of who you want to date. And that's because while your hormones are forming and you're becoming a woman and all of that, and you get different preferences and you find different interests in men, conversations, whatever it is, your brain is still growing. You're still trying to find out exactly who you are. But sometimes the stuff that you want in a man, and this goes for a man wanting stuff in a woman, you may not always find, they may not always check all the check boxes. But if you knew from the beginning that you wanted someone with status, you should have said, nah, we're not going to be dating. I don't find interest in you. I don't. But you fell in love with somebody that probably did not check all the boxes, but you fell in love with the person because of their heart, because of what they exhibit, and everything that you observed from them. You fell in love with their character. You fell in love with their soul. You even fell in love with the way that they give you a smile that only you can have and the whole world can't. And you tell the universe, fuck it, let me try this out. Let me see if this works. And it worked for a while. It really did. But if you really truly wanted somebody with status, you should have let Akira know early, like, hey, you're not my type. Communication is key. Like, I don't want to make it about me, but for example, if I don't like something, I would tell you straight out that I don't like it. And if someone tries to hit on me, it'll be like, don't even try, man. Don't even try. You got to be straight up with people if you think that this person is not going to bring you any value, any happiness. You can't see a future with them. You got to be straight up with them. However, I did say that when they first got together and it was announced on Twitter and on social media, I was like, oh, they're a cute couple. You can see how much they were in love. But I think that the attention was taken away and just bad things happen and jealousy has entered into the relationship to make it this toxic. And to say to him that he's femme as fuck and that she's not gay, I will be honest. There were times where I thought that Akira could be fluid just because of the way that he presented himself. But at the end of the day, he is still a man. He's still a guy. And I believe that if he ever wanted to adopt the label of just being a flamboyant man, that's totally fine. He has soft features. They're nice. They're cute. Somebody out there would be like, oh, I find him attractive. And he might try again for another relationship. That doesn't mean that like he's femme as fuck. He's also soft-spoken too. He's a soft-spoken guy, just a little bit flamboyant, likes to dye his hair pink, which is nothing wrong with that. And likes to have death matches. Like, that is the most odd combination and still want to call him femme. It's just, that's how he is. That's just how he decides to present himself. The same way that throughout history, if a guy didn't come out as gay, but liked the idea of maybe getting his nails done, dressing nice, making sure that he looked good, and being flamboyant out there. It's fine to be flamboyant. It's fine to be any of these things, but to try to use it against them as a weapon, knowing that it's being used as a weapon, it's really not going to change anything. It doesn't really add to the conversations. It doesn't add to why are we at this very moment? Why are we talking about this kind of deal? You know what I mean? This is why it bothers me with the hypocrisy of, if you saw in the early on that he was femme as fuck, but you decided to go and date him, and then you guys have some wild ass sex, and then later on in the text messages, you're telling him that he's not good at sex and trying to be like, oh, but you're femme as fuck and I'm not gay. And it's like, why are you using that as a weapon to try to get into his head that he's not good at just pleasing a woman? If you knew that you wanted somebody with status, and if you knew that you didn't want no man that can be presented as femme as fuck, and if you knew that you're not gay, then you should have never dated him in 2021. It would have saved everybody a lot of time. You could have been friends with him and you could have seen how he developed later on in life and in the wrestling space and in the wrestling career. And then maybe you could have been like, hey, my idea and my checklist has changed. Let's try this out. So I know I spent a lot of time on that, but like, women, stop using sex as a weapon. Listen, sex is amazing, but when you guys do not really want to end a relationship, you guys would throw sex in there like a weapon. And then you wonder why guys retaliate the way that they do. However, this is Akira texting back Masha after that whole thing. Once again, my love doesn't come with an asterisk. I get tagged in every Kelly thing you both do. It's whatever. I laugh, and if people ask if you were actually gay, I say no. I support you no matter what. That is pretty straightforward. To which Masha says, and it's hard when you're a strong woman and eat everyone, including you, up. Great. Me and Kelly stays in the ring, and everyone knows it's a work. I was a little confused by this, and then Akira follows it up with, so because someone is pretty, you've got a problem. Do you love me? First, let me break down something. Masha says, and it's hard when you're a strong woman. No, a strong woman does not mean to beat your ex or beat your boyfriend at the time and then basically just verbally abuse him. That's not being a strong woman. And being a strong woman doesn't mean that you have to do softcore sexualized stuff in the ring with somebody else just so that way the crowd could get off on it and you have an OnlyFans subscription to sell. That does not make you a strong woman. A strong woman is basically someone who can care about others, also be kind, also know when to stand up for things that they believe in, not every single little thing for like activism's sake. A strong woman makes sure that the house is in order. A strong woman makes sure that there is enough communication, a little less anger, a little less throwing. A strong woman is basically being there for their husband, their boyfriend, vice versa. I know people are going to get upset at me, but a strong woman basically takes care of things, but not 100% like on her own, because I know people are going to come after me for that. But like, a strong woman is to make sure that they are a helper to whatever is happening. And if they cannot help, they cannot help. They could go get somebody else for helping in that situation because they may not be equipped to have the skill set. A strong woman doesn't abuse their ex. A strong woman doesn't go on OnlyFans to try to find validity and make extra money on the side when there's different ways of making extra money. And I have no idea what this eat everyone, including you, up. I thought it was sexual. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that's sexual. And, whatever they do in the ring, it's a work. Maybe, maybe not. But there are fans that just fantasize about women getting it on. And they watch lesbian porn. And, to say that everyone knows it's a work, you are living out a fantasy most guys like to see and most women like to see. So regardless if you want to paint it as a work or not, really doesn't hold anything here. It's like, all right, cool, we know that, but you're basically giving them a fantasy to look forward to every time you're on TNA wrestling. Because for some reason, sex sells. And then Akira saying of, so because someone is pretty, you've got a problem, and do you love me? Man, this man loved her. I have no idea who he means by someone is pretty. Who's pretty? Kelly's pretty? Like, I don't know. Someone needs to fill me in. Thanks. Now, let me read the breakup text. Akira starts out with, I'm sorry. Masha follows it up with, I'm sorry. I can't forgive you. Every time I look at your face, I remember how you didn't tell me you were in the hospital. And I remember every day going forward. Now, I don't know if this was because of Akira doing death matches all the time and he got hurt, or maybe it was the abuse, the physical abuse, because there are pictures in that Dropbox of Akira having scratches on him and he went to the hospital. Or it will be maybe something that has to deal with his friend, because his friend was taking care of her grandfather and then there was a grandmother in the hospital. I'm not exactly sure about this particular text where it mentions the hospital and then she's like, I remember every day going forward, like, I can't forgive you. Like, I don't understand. Akira responds with, I understand your view. Masha comes in with, I'm not uncomfortable. I'm just not yours anymore. You told me you sat there and thought how to tell me. So you should have right then and there, period. Now you can love the memory of me. In our darkest time as women and men, when we get so angry and we spiral down, we say a lot of shit that is very hurtful. And sometimes we say shit that we don't mean, but we say it out of anger. We say it out of malice, maybe not malice at times, but to say, now you can love the memory of me, that is so freaking horrible to tell that to another person that you're breaking up with them, rather than just being, hey, I just don't like where this is heading. That's it. Have a good life. Again, something that direct would be way better than trying to drag this out and trying to make it like a romantic novel kind of writing and stuff. Akira goes on to say, if you can't understand how I felt about telling the woman I love that my face was messed up, I don't know what to tell you. Oh, so yeah, it is about him having his face messed up. And like I said, those pictures are online. But at first, it wasn't clear. That's all it was. It wasn't clear to me. But yeah, Akira has every right to be afraid of Masha for doing that. Anybody would be afraid that the person that you loved and saw a future for and would do anything for decided to hit you and mark up your face and abuse you that way, and not only verbally. Masha comes in with, I'm not that woman anymore, and follows it up with, well, you better hope there's something left of me to love after tonight. You knew who I was when you decided to love me. You also chose to hurt me multiple times and then wonder why I hurt you back. First of all, this is not how relationships start, because if you were that bad and you knew yourself was that bad, why would you even want to start dating anybody in the first place? If you know yourself 100%, and if you know yourself very, very well, and you know you get angry, why would you want to start dating? Why would you want to have a relationship with anybody? Akira could have just been your friend, the same way that everyone else in your circle could have been your friend. If you're going to say with most certainly, you knew who I was when you decided to love me. In the honeymoon phase, nobody knew that. In the honeymoon phase, relationships just be like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And then somewhere along the lines, it just get fucked up. But to tell them that, it's like, whoa. She follows it up with, had you never done those things, had you had the mind of an adult and not a teenager at best. You'd have never seen this side of me. I don't think you understand how much hurt you put me through. You don't. As much as you say you do, you don't. Again, in the earlier text messages, she admitted that she has been through this before. And if you have been through this before, you should have talked to him ahead of time before it got this bad. And how is he supposed to know all these things if you guys are not communicating on a daily basis? If you guys are not taking the time away from wrestling when you have a day off and you're not doing anything, that you sit down and you have a check-in and you talk about everything, even if you're talking about work or you're talking about life or you're talking about the future together or you're talking about how to build money together and how to do this and how to do that, and just check in with each other and have that conversation. This would have never happened. So is it okay to just infer that if she's going to tell Akira that, oh, you needed to grow up and be an adult, but you acted like a teenager at best, is it okay to call her a baby? Because both of them did not grow up. Both of them were not being adults. Both of them were just not communicating. Wow, Akira loved Masha, and probably Masha loved Akira back. There was a very lack of respect in this toxic relationship and just a lack of communication. But is it completely right in the assessment of, if she's going to say that he never had the mind of an adult and he acted as a teenager at best, is it okay that we could say that she's a baby for throwing tantrums and destroying things and putting her anger all behind glasses that he may need on a day-to-day basis? Now, do you understand why I would say like two wrongs don't make a right? Akira over here says, my grandma was in the hospital and I didn't even tell you because you told me not to talk to you. And this is another thing that guys do. If you tell them something directly, they go and follow it. To which Masha says, I said all my points. Akira says, I sat alone feeling miserable, which no one should be doing that. No one should be feeling like that. Masha comes in with, and I saw your post and didn't reach out because you're my ex until further notice. What the fuck does she think this is? When I read that before doing this podcast episode, I was like, who says that you're my ex until further notice? So are you saying there's a chance? And if there's a chance, don't even go with it. Don't even do it, because she'll put you through the same thing. Like, it'll just be maybe a relapse on something, but it's not worth it. For someone to really say in a text message, you're my ex until further notice. Excuse me? You couldn't just be like, yeah, I don't think this is working out. I'm sorry. I hope you have a wonderful life and find someone that could treat you better than I can. But, that's it. You're my ex until further notice. She follows it up with, you wanted to be alone. You got it. Enjoy. The next text message is, you said horrible shit to me and expect me to kiss your ass and accept you stepping on me. Nah, man. I know I said earlier that I'm not taking sides, and this might sound like I am, but that is 100% disrespectful. She did not have respect for you later on in this toxic relationship. And to a certain degree, is it justifiable? Maybe, maybe not, depending on who you're talking to, depending on what day of the week it is. But Akira probably lost respect for her too, but still loved her in a way of like, I want to try to make things better, but like it never got to that point. And here comes Masha with the, you don't get it. You're only making it worse for yourself. What is he making worse for himself? That he's calling you out on your bullshit and the things that you have done to him, and there's evidence inside this Dropbox, even though I go by innocent until proven guilty. But in this Dropbox and through friends and through other people, it just points back to your behavior. So what is he making worse for himself? You already said that he's your ex until further notice. He can't make it worse for himself because he's not with you and you're not with him. She follows it up with, had you told me even immediately when you woke up, things would be different. No, it wouldn't. It would not be different. I don't think for a second it would be different at all. If someone is an emotional abuser and also a physical abuser, as we've seen from the Dropbox text messages, and the pictures are out there as well in that Dropbox, and how would it be different? If you knew that you had this power over him and he is scared of you, you would have turned the day into some emotional bragging kind of deal and just basically say some more fucked up shit. The rest of the text message reads from her, "You messed up, not me. That's it. That's the end of it." Of course, that is the typical 101 basics for how to be a manipulator and how to be an emotional abuser, to say that you messed up, not me. Oh, now we know about the breakup. Let's read when, unfortunately, Akira tried to commit end of his life because of the breakup. This is what he wrote on Twitter. "I woke up to this and people asking me if I was okay. Kinda wanna throw up, kinda wanna go away forever. My friend held back for months because I asked her to, and I wouldn't have never said anything. I still really don't want to. I didn't want to lash out in anger because I was angry, suicidal, and depressive since the end of January," which is really fucked up. We have a whole thing about be nicer to each other. And if you think that something is going wrong, talk to somebody, call the suicide prevention number, get help. There's someone always listening. And then something like this, when men hold it inside their thoughts, that's not cool. How can we say as a society that we want to come together and stop people from ending their own lives if we don't allow them to talk about it and just listen to their story on both sides, rather than being like, stop being a pussy, stop being a baby, take it, you're a man, you don't have to deal with emotions, you don't know what a girl goes through, all those buzzword phrases that people throw out when they don't want to listen to a man's story when they get abused. Now, I do know that like both sides of the aisle, men and women, can manipulate anybody and everybody, but that's just a small 1% that happens. The 99% is the stories that don't get listened to. And also, as a society, we've also ran out of, the story of a wolf in sheep's clothing. When you have so many people telling you the same story, and in your mind, you're like, wait a minute, that sounds familiar, that sounds familiar, that sounds familiar, but there's no evidence whatsoever. And they keep repeating the same thing and try not to change up the story. That's why sometimes we really do not 100% believe women, because women will just get online and say, "Oh yeah, I second the story because this happened to me," and they will straight up lie and make up a false story just to give some type of credibility to the actual story of the original woman that like is telling her side of the story. You know what I mean? That they come and back up other women, and that's why sometimes it's so hard as a society to come together to be like, believe their stories, because we've had so many sheeps to say the same thing and say the same story and rhetoric and timeline, and when it adds up, you're like, wait, this doesn't make any sense at all. And then when you poke logic in it, they get upset. So what I really want to say, and I hope that the point comes across, as we should not be allowing men to keep their feelings inside, and that if they need to just tell the world, or tell the people that are closest to them, or just take it to the police if you want some privacy and you don't want the world to judge you. You don't want social media to judge you, because it can get a little hectic, a little chaotic. And if you don't want that, go to the police and have them handle it. That's what I would say. But we should not allow men to just keep shit inside the same way that we tell women to express themselves. We should 100% tell men the same thing too. Now I'm going to read this long Discord message that Akira was telling a friend. So here we go. This is on Discord. "I was downstairs eating. We had a good morning. I made her breakfast and all. She was upstairs doing OnlyFans stuff. I couldn't hear her call for me. I eventually come up when I hear and help her. Total shit attitude from there on, and basically treating me like shit and being rude. I go to the gym or try to. The air conditioner acts weird and she throws a fit, and I come back, go to her car, battery is dead. She has an entire meltdown and screaming and saying it's my fault. And when I say I didn't do anything, she spits on me. Also, going on with her bad attitude, she goes, "You signed up for this and you like it." And she said she broke up with me on Twitter. That's in quotation marks. And when I go back to look, she goes, "Oh, look, you got so worried. Your little girlfriend broke up with you. I've been up 2 hours. I'm tired. I'm going into the city for my visa appointment and I may be spending the day there. Fuck this." Akira also put on Twitter saying, "I almost killed myself 3 times as the life I tried to build with someone was torn apart and I became nothing to that person. It was like a withdrawal. Every time I went to the hospital, that person I put on a pedestal was gone. I didn't matter." Very, very, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. It did not need to happen this way. It did not need to go down this way. Communication is key, and also just talking about stuff. And if you really do not want to be in a relationship, just be like, "I don't think this is going to work out." He didn't need that. He made her breakfast. She was happy. She went upstairs to do OnlyFans and then all of a sudden had a weird attitude. Maybe that's some bipolarness. Who knows? But there is one last thing that I want to talk about and then I'll wrap it up. So in addition to Akira's friends chiming in, and thankfully they did, referee Jim Deacon also decided to chime in, and he had some really, really words for Masha. So this is what he says. "Mutually destructive. You're so full of shit, your teeth are stained brown. I've sat in cars listening to you scream and threaten Alex because your buddies in TNA said he stole your finisher. The only thing you've done since dumping Alex is lose your hair and get addicted to cocaine." His words, not my words. "You haven't self-reflected for a fucking second of your vile existence." Again, all his words. And he has every right to be this mad and this frustrated, man. He continues to say, "He fucking loved you and you beat him like a stuffed pig. Fuck you. Fuck your rape-ist boyfriend. And go worry about that thing you've been hiding from the world for 6 years. You homophobic, disloyal, unfaithful. See you next Tuesday. Don't ever speak of my best friend again, let alone think of him with what limited brain cells you have left firing off in your brain." Now, this statement is so fiery. And I am very curious about this other boyfriend. Like, what? And this is what happens when a rabbit hole opens and you're like, what the hell is going on further? Now, I do tend to agree with that dirty laundry should not be aired like this. This should be behind closed doors. It's none of our business. I'm covering it because this is abuse. It's happening in the industry. And for many, many years, especially when the Me Too movement was really big in the wrestling business, it was every single woman coming together saying that this guy did this guy did that. And you're like, who do I believe? And this is the opposite of the Me Too, where the guy is being abused. But for some reason in the wrestling industry, if the guy is abused, the woman is celebrated. AKA Nikki Bella is in WWE and she abused her ex-husband just because, again, she didn't want to tell her ex-husband, "Hey, thank you for giving me a baby. Thank you for donating your sperm, but this isn't going to work out with us." So I don't know what's going to happen in the industry moving forward, but I do know that Masha has been taken off of various wrestling promotions that she had lined up in order to wrestle on due to these allegations. Again, they're all allegations, and I am just giving my 2 cents on the situation and giving some relationship and life advice. And the biggest thing is to talk about your differences. Both are in the wrong. However, you knew based off of the text messages that were shown online and from the various articles that I went through that Akira did love Masha. Akira was also trying to make it work, but things just happened, went downhill for no reason. There are some other articles that was saying that she was jealous when he went to his trip in Japan because he got a Ribia jacket. And it's like, listen, you'll get your chance to go to Japan too. You'll get your chance to do this. You'll get your chance to do that. There's no reason why people need to be jealous of each other. Sometimes your path may not be the same as someone else's path, or, just continue to do what you do and eventually you'll get to Japan. Like, if you had enough money, you could book your own flight, go to Japan and just network over there with the promoters and people and just be like, hey, yeah, I'm a wrestler or whatnot. You could do that. I mean, you are making money off of OnlyFans. Use that for good intentions. After everything that came out, Masha finally released a statement on the issue and on the allegations and everything. So I'm going to read it and go over it. She says, up until the beginning of this year, I was in a toxic and mutually destructive relationship. We hurt each other deeply and in private moments failed to treat each other with the consideration and respect we both deserve. I take responsibilities for my actions and I am sorry, embarrassed, and ashamed of the role I played in our relationship and the way things turned out. This is her words. She continues to say in her statement, in the time since, I have sought help to reflect on this time and deal with conflict in more mature, healthier, and sustainable ways. I apologize to those that I let down, including my former partner. I hope he is able to heal. This will be my only statement on the matter. Signed, Masha. I honestly hope that Masha gets the help and therapy that she needs. Having all of that anger is not pleasant and it doesn't do anybody any favors. And then to really verbally assault Akira on the car rides while the referee, Jim Deacon, sat in and listened to, which is very horrible to make your boyfriend slash partner, I don't know why partner is a thing, but her now ex, to make him feel small and unwanted just because people in TNA was like, hey, you used her finisher. So what if he used your finisher? So what if he did this or that? He was basically, that's his way of saying, I love you. I'm using your finisher. I'm putting you on this pedestal so that people know about you and that he loved you. He didn't decide to steal your finisher out of malice. Like, no one does that. Most couples in wrestling would use each other's finishers just because. It is most likely a control thing. That's all it is. It's most likely a control thing. So, with that being said, I truly hope that she finds peace, Akira finds peace, and both of them go into therapy and both of them continue to do what they do in the wrestling business and do whatever they want to accomplish. I really hope that they can come together, have a conversation, and realize that they were both wrong and that they grew from it and that they learned from it as well. I honestly want nothing but the best for both of them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I gave a lot of thoughts, a lot of commentary on this whole entire situation. Thank you so much for making it all the way through for this 1 hour session of giving relationship advice and just questioning and just talking through things and wishing the best for both Masha and Akira. I have no ill will towards any of them. I have no anger towards any of them. It is fucked up and it does kind of feel like I might have went one-sided and being on the side of Akira, but then again, it's both. Both of them are in the wrong, but it's really upsetting and frustrating and not cool that women could get away with this kind of abuse, even though there was a statement that I just read, but just in general talking about it, that women could get away with this kind of abuse towards a man. But the moment that a man does this kind of abuse, it's like the end of his life forever and ever and ever and ever. And no matter how many times that man repents, there's always somebody on Twitter or social media or somebody in life being like, I'm never going to let you forget about this, when it's like, it's none of your business, Karen. Anyway, I wish both of them the best. I'm not angry at them. I'm just a little like frustrated that it had to get to this point, because I thought they were going to be a good couple. They could have been a good couple. And to see it go down just like this is like really, really bad. Akira has a big, bright heart, a big heart, and he's soft spoken, and he cares about people. He cares about everybody. That's why he said that his love doesn't come with an asterisk. It really doesn't. But you can see that something wasn't right after a while, just based on the text messages and the article write-ups and then the friends coming in. And sometimes that happens, sometimes you're not, physically attracted to somebody or mentally attracted to somebody. And instead of being an adult and being like, hey, I don't feel like I used to love you like I once did before. I don't know what it is. Maybe we need some more time apart. Maybe we need this. Maybe we need that. Maybe we should go to therapy and try to figure it out. Or you could just be like, hey, this isn't for me anymore. I'm so sorry. I don't want to keep leading you on to think that we have a possible future. But, women sometimes don't think rationally like this. They want to cause a fight. They want to cause drama. They want to manipulate people into reaching their breaking point, so that way the other person can leave, so that way they don't have to carry the guilt of actually saying, hey, this relationship is not going to work out. However, some women don't realize that when they themselves keep pushing and pushing and pushing a man's buttons, and the man can't do anything, because he knows that the moment that he retaliates is the moment that he's going to jail and prison for life, because they will turn it into an expose of like, men bad, man bad, man bad. So that's why men sometimes think that the only way out is to end their life, because the woman that does not want to be straight up with them to tell them, hey, honey, it's not working out, they feel like they have no other options. Because if that man who goes to somebody else and be like, hey, I'm having this difficult time, what do? That person is going to shoo them away and be like, oh, you're a man. Oh, she's probably just PMSing. Oh, it's probably nothing. And they brush it aside, when this is a very good conversation to have no matter what, because it deals with mental health issues. It deals with abuse and manipulation. How do we go forward with that? If we can teach men to be direct, even though sometimes I think it's just embedded into their DNA, depending on like who the man is and how they were raised, because we do have some petty ass men out there who will not tell you shit directly, but that's another conversation for another day. So basically, if we can teach men, if it's not within their DNA, to be direct and tell people exactly what you want them to hear, exactly what you need, we got to do that with women too. We got to do that with women and not make them princesses and try to tell them to control that anger of them, those impulses, and just tell men exactly what they want. If you no longer want to be in this relationship with this man because somewhere along the line you just felt like you don't love the man no more, or you don't find the man physically attractive anymore, and you're starting to get feelings for some other type of man body that might have more like an 8-pack of abs or something like that, like just tell them straight out exactly what you want. What are the next steps? And if you guys can come to a compromise, that'd be great. If you guys can't and want to go your separate ways, that's amazing, because then the man will have that much respect for you. That's all I'm saying. So, ladies and gentlemen, I have talked so much. If you have anything to contribute, add, go ahead. The comment section is free. This is a free episode of the Square Circle podcast because this conversation is very, very important. I can have these type of conversations and more over at patreon.com/Marie Shadows underneath the Discord notes volume, whatever number that it will be upon. So you have to tune in. Sooner or later, I will be dropping Discord Notes Volume 7, which will talk more about Patreon, what can you expect, things that I want to do, just come along with me on this journey. That's all I want. I want you to be a part of this journey. You could get a free account right now on patreon.com/Marie Shadows. No pressure. There are just two tiers, a $3 tier, a $7 tier. $7 tier grants you every single little thing that I do. Again, talking about wrestling conversations and wrestling issues and review shows, that's always going to be free because I welcome the conversation. Over at Patreon, you'll get the tape study series where I break down professional wrestling. So if you want me to break down their tag match, I will gladly do so. And if you want to talk more about other kind of things, culture stuff, what I'm doing, catching up with me, again, those are Discord notes. Discord notes will be behind the paywall. Unfortunately, you guys will get highlights. I will be talking about it on future Square Circle Podcast episode shows so that way you can stay informed. Discord Notes is a Patreon exclusive spin-off kind of podcast going on with other stuff in the background. So yeah, just tune into episode 7. I'll let you guys listen to what the Patreon is about more in full for free so that way you guys understand. But Discord Notes will live on Patreon. So if that's something that you want to continue to be on this journey with me, head over to patreon.com/Square Circle Podcast. But for this specific episode, leave your comments down below. It will be available on Spotify. It will be available on Substack, marieshadows.substack.com. It would also be available on YouTube and also on Rumble as well. If you're on any of those, follow me everywhere, basically. Follow me on Instagram, your fave, Marie Shadows. And if you want to support the channel further, you can send over a one-time payment donation at buymeacoffee.com/Marie Shadows. If you feel that I have given you a lot of value, a lot of things to think about, different perspectives in this episode. And also on the YouTube video, there is a icon that says thanks with a heart and a money sign on it. If you want to, you can. You could give some thanks to the video. You can also get a membership over at YouTube, even though YouTube takes the majority of your money. I don't know, spend it wisely. If you want to help me out on Patreon, Patreon is the way to go. If you want to help me on Buy Me a Coffee, that's the way to go. And if you want to upgrade your Substack subscription, that's the way to go. And then also, last but not least, I do have merchandise. If you just want to get merchandise, that's fantastic. Those links, every single link that I have talked about, including the merchandise at Fourth Wall, will be down in the description below. Again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with me and making it this far. You have been listening to an episode of the Square Circle Podcast. Let me know down in the comments who's right, who's wrong. Do two wrongs not make a right, doesn't make a right? Let me know your comments, and I'll see you all in chat. I am your host, Marie Shadows, and I'll see you guys on the next one.